check this out. It is absolutely the wide AM. I've never found one before. You're watching Cadroll Hunter, and I did it again. I bought a random collection of coins. I have no idea what I got here. Hey everybody, this is James and you're watching Cadroll Hunter, and this is part 2 of looking at a collection I just bought for $100. In the last video, we already found lots of value, over $94 in face value already, and we found silver and we found some old stuff. Today we're going to look at the pennies and see if we can find anything cool. And we want to answer the question, did we get over $100 even just in face value? Well, we'll find out for sure. I've said it before that coins are filthy, and sometimes we pull all sorts of crazy things out of coin rolls, like hair and debris and fibers. In here, I found all sorts of things like little toy bugs and obviously clips and everything. You can see some blue coins in there. There was a battery that had discharged in here, and there are some coins that are not faring very well as that battery acid got to them. There's a bunch in the bottom here. I'm going to have to fish out. I don't think I'll be keeping those. And I can see there's one of those spiders there. Really weird. So we got tons of pennies and they're all pretty much sorted out. So we got 97 to 2012. We got 66 to 96. This is all copper. And then some older stuff and various things all separated out into little baggies. So this collector was very organized. But I think I'll start with the zinc and steel cents and see if I can find any of those modern varieties like the 2006 no P, no mint mark, magnetic, those sorts of things. I'll report back if I find something. So finish that bag of modern coins. We ended up getting $7.50 that I've rolled up right here, ready to go to the bank. Didn't find anything in here. What I'm doing now, of course, is just looking through all of those loose ones because there's going to be some zinc, there's going to be some copper in here, just separating them all out. But I did find something here that I don't find very often. I've got it here and under the scope. This is a 1965 pointed 5, and you can see how pointed that 5 is there. The blunt 5 has a little bit of an angle, but it's not pointed like that. And there's two varieties of the pointed 5. Got to flip it over. There's a small bead and a large bead. This coin is not in excellent condition, but we'll just take a peek here and we'll see that this A is pointing between two small beads. If it was the large bead, it would be pointing directly to the large bead. Now this particular coin, the pointed 5, is harder to find than the blunt 5, absolutely. I don't know that I've actually ever found a real pointed 5 before. So this is a great one. The large bead is the more scarce of the two, but they both command a premium over the blunt 5. All right, another little update. I've gone through all the loose pennies. We ended up with $3.37 in copper. I'll weigh all the copper up at the end and just see how we did. But for now, we'll see what the face value is. We got $1.21 in zinc and steel cents. We found 3 more dimes, so that's pretty cool. And there was some US in there. There's 16 cents of copper. And here we've got 18 cents in zinc, but we actually have 20 cents in zinc because there's 2 over here that I was looking at. I just looked at all of them to see if there are any varieties. The first thing that I looked at was this 1998 to see if we had a wide AM, and we don't. There's the close AM. The next one that I looked at was this 2000. That's pretty spotty here, but when I flip it over, it is absolutely the wide AM. I've never found one before. So I got the 2000 wide AM. That's really, really cool. And here's a look at that. It ain't pretty necessarily. It's got lots of spots. I see a scratch. When I flip it over, you can see definitely the wide AM. Very cool. I'm going to flip that up regardless of the fact that it's got some corrosion and damage. That is awesome. And I almost forgot, I pulled aside 26 cents, 26 pennies that I thought looked pretty nice. Some are copper, some are more recent zinc or steel, but they all looked pretty good, and I'll hold on to those guys. Next up, we'll look at this bag of 1966 to 1996 Canada 1 cent. Particularly what I'm going to be looking for, I think, or see if we have any 1985 pointed 5s. Any of the other varieties that we might find, but this is going to be a whole whack of copper. So there was another $5.66 in there. Nothing crazy from a numismatic standpoint. In fact, nothing really at all, but it's all copper. And again, we'll weigh it all up by the end of this video. Next, we're going to look at this baggie here. It kind of looks like mixed stuff. I see a King George the Sixth in there, but I see some newer stuff and some whatever. So somebody just put a bunch of pennies in a baggie, but I'll tally it up and see what we got, see if we got anything old and interesting in here. So I just started looking through that group of coins, and I'm just separating out the King George VI and the laureate portraits. There's some of those in there. And I found something I've never found before, and this is totally cool. We got an off-center strike. Look at this 1981 struck out of collar. Part of the design is missing, the denticles and on this coin on the reverse. It's not quite cutting off Canada, maybe just touching the bottom of the D. If I flip it over, we can see that we're missing some of the beads on there, and the design is just sort of pushed right up over the top. Looks like the metal just sort of smushed out of where the dies were. That is excellent. It's in good condition. It's still got some a little bit of luster to it. It's starting to turn brown, but it's basically an uncirculated coin. This couldn't really circulate, I don't think, like that. But that is a totally unexpected find. We found a couple of goodies so far. This is really awesome. So our tally for that bag was $1.69. That included 14 laureate portraits, 17 King George VI, 1 US copper cent, and of course our off-center 1981 Canadian penny, which is probably by far the best find of this whole hunt. Well, maybe that and that 2000 wide AM and a nice shiny 1980 I'll set aside as well. I got to make space to look through these guys over here. We've got more laureate portrait and King George VI, so I'm going to weigh up all the copper, clear this all up, and we'll get into these bags, which is where it starts to get really exciting. This next little bag seems to be all 1965, so they've been meticulously sorted, except one 1955 seemed to have crept in there, but I'm going to scope all of these to see if any of them are the pointed 5, and to see if we might even get a pointed 5 large bead. So there were 43 coins in that bag. 42 of them were 1965s, but only one of them was a pointed 5. It's this one I've got under the scope right here. There's that pointed 5. You can see the angle it's taking. Flipping this one over, we're looking at the A of Regina, and this one is also pointed between two small beads. So it's our second pointed 5 small bead in this lot of coins, but that just goes to show you how hard it is to find the pointed 5. Just a little correction, there were 47 of those 1965s in that bunch. There are a few small baggies here with some commemoratives, most notably what appear to be some uncirculated 1967 Centennial of Confederation. I'll check those for any of the doubling, and I'll get a tally of those. I'll add that to the screen here. But otherwise, what we want to look at, there's some bags here of laureate portrait, King George VI, and even a bag of King George V. And because I'm impatient and I really want to see what's in there, I'd love to see if there are any 23s, 24s, 25s, 26s. We're going to get in with these ones first and see what we got. So there were 21 King George V, but no key dates. We got a couple 20s, a 21, skipping all the key dates over to 27, 28, 29, a bunch of 32s, 33s, we got a 34, a couple 35s, and a few 36s. This last one here is probably the most detailed of all of them. So some of these are in better than average condition, but you can see lots of detail there. Pretty dark toned coin, but no key dates. So $2.08 in King George VI pennies. All seem to be in average circulated condition. But do you know how long it would take to coin roll hunt this many King George VIs? Many, 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 many boxes of pennies. Absolutely. So that's really cool. I'm going to sort these by date. We've probably got a run of all of the dates, I'm absolutely positive, but we'll see if there are any varieties in here. So we did get something from every year, including the early George VI 37s, 38s, 39s, in through the 40s, and some big stacks of the later ones, the 50, 51, 52, as we would expect. I've got the 1948s under the scope over here, and we're checking the denticles, the A on Gracia. This is the A pointing between large denticles, but we did get one here, at least one, that is an A pointing to a small denticle. Not in great shape, but that is one to look for. We only had three 1949s to check, and what we're looking for is the A pointing to the large denticle. That's not what we have here. This is A pointing between the large denticles. However, check out this one here. That A is absolutely pointing to the large denticle. Now this coin is in pretty rough condition. It's got some rim dings, it's got some corrosion, it's got some wear. You can see it's not perfect, but this is a hard to find variety. In a VF20, this lists in the Charlton catalog at $15. This might not be a VF20, but it's still worth more than face value. That's a really cool one, a variety you want to look for if you've got any 1949s to scope. We also got $3.45 in laureate portraits and another 21 cents in just assorted 60s and 70s that were in one bag. We got lots of laureate portrait in the 50s. The 1954, not surprisingly, that's the hardest one to come by. Minted at just over 22 million. In an MS-60, that's worth a couple of dollars. Most of these, particularly in the later years, not worth much more than face value, or perhaps their copper content. In any case, we got a good assortment, all circulated. Some of those other little pouches, a couple that I'll keep, a 1992, there's a 2002, and a nice little stack of largely uncirculated 1967s, and just another handful of ones that are going to go back, or at least in the copper cup here. I'm going to take a minute and go through and look for any of the less common varieties, particularly that 1954 no shoulder fold, if that we could find that. The shoulder fold 1953, that's something we could find, and it would be a really, really good find. And then in 1955, the no shoulder fold would be very hard to come by, but you're never going to find it if you don't check. All right, I've gone through those 1953s, and I have to say I'm pretty excited because what we're looking for is the 1953 shoulder fold. What I have in front of me is the no shoulder fold. Now on this coin, we're looking to see, is there a design element here on the shoulder? But because these are circulated coins, it's really hard to tell from the actual shoulder. So we typically look at another one of the devices, and that is the letter here, the I, and the no shoulder fold is flared out at the I. And some of the other letters have more flaring sort of towards the bottom of the letters. So this is the common no shoulder fold in the 1953. But I found two shoulder folds. So here it is here. The fold is actually visible in the design. You can see that down there. But if you weren't certain, you can look at the I. It doesn't have the same flared ends. And if those weren't easy enough to tell, if you couldn't quite tell, the other tell is the I in the shoulder fold points right to identical. Whereas the no shoulder fold, that I points between two denticles. So this one here is a 1953 shoulder fold. And the other one I have here as well, if I pull it in, the same thing, 1953 shoulder fold, that denticle is moving up to the eye is pointing to the denticle. And I'll just get it under the light here so we can see 1953. Why I'm excited is because this is the 1953 shoulder fold in my collection. I've only found one, and this was in a roll of corroded 1953 pennies. You can see all that green, and the back is even worse, the obverse. You can barely see the queen. When I found this, I was pretty excited. I said I would flip it up and display it with pride until I got a better one in my collection. And today's the day I got a better one. And not just one, I got two. And I can pick from those two which one is going to be best displayed in my album. So that's really, really cool. Incidentally, here is the 1949 A pointing to large denticle that I got similarly, just covered in green corrosion. I'll put a link up top to the video on my channel where I went through coins that were left to me by my late Uncle John. That's where I got my love of coin collecting, was going through his collection with him when I was a kid. And he passed on to me his coin collection, which I definitely cherish and has kept me interested in coins. But once again, I've found an upgrade to a really hard to find coin. In total, we have 1 pound, 13.1 ounces of laureate portraits. I'm going to roll these up by year as I do. Then I'll weigh up the King George VI and our other finds and do the same. There's all our King George VI coming in at 1 pound 9.3 ounces. And to round off our copper finds, there are our King George V's, our various finds and some other odds and ends, 4.2 ounces. So we managed to get through all of those Canadian pennies in this slot. We didn't get to look at the wheat cents or the foreign coins. I think I'm going to have to do these in a different video, probably the wheat cents in one video, and lump these foreign coins in with another set of foreign coins that I've been waiting to go through into another video. And we just had too much to go through. But again, I got this whole lot of coins for $100. And just in face value alone, I think we got pretty close, if not over. We got a whole bunch of stuff that's just going to go back to the bank, but we found some great things too. Well, we actually got over 10 pounds of copper. That includes all of our finds. I've wrapped up a lot of the older copper cents. As I do, I separate them by year and then I roll them up. This isn't everything that we got here. This is just what would create a complete roll with some of the stuff that I have. Otherwise, I keep them in tubes, and when I get a full roll, I put them in one of these and I put them away. But you can see we got lots of oldies to put towards my stack of copper, and some old copper at that. But we found lots of cool stuff. So we started off by looking at some old tokens that were really cool, very old, plus the lone piece of silver that somehow got through, and you can see why it just has that really dark toning. Somebody might have gone through this and looked for silver and thought this was just an old copper coin. So too bad for them. It's great for me. We got a bunch of King George V 21, if I remember correctly, but we found a bunch of really cool things, some of which I had in my collection and were trashy, some of which I just didn't have. We got two 1965 small bead pointed fives. We got two 1953 shoulder folds. I only had one before and it was really trashy. We got a 1948 A to small denticle. I just recently found some of these, so we've got another one. And then one that replaces a really grungy one, this 1949 A to denticle. And then a couple of really cool finds, this US 2000 wide AM. I'm not in the States and I don't get to see a lot of American coins typically, and so I've never found one. I really didn't think I would find one, but I did, so that's pretty awesome. And then I think the coolest find of everything is this really off-center strike, this 1981. It's still got some luster, perhaps even a red-brown. You can see some red to that. That is just really neat, a really cool addition to my collection. I hope you enjoyed that purchase and looking through all of these older Canadian coins, separating them out and see what kind of treasure we can find in somebody else's discards. For $100, let me know in the comments below, did I get a good deal? I think I did. I think we got more than that just in the value of the finds that we had. And we haven't even looked at the wheat cents and the American stuff that's here. I think there's lots of cool stuff there. Hopefully going to be some oldies in there. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, Cadroll Hunter, please do that now. I'd really appreciate it. You'll find out when my new videos are coming out. I have new videos coming out all the time. And give the video a like. That's the best way you can support the channel. It makes sure that other people find out about me. And again, thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate you watching. We'll see you again next time. The sponsors of today's video are Lighthouse Canada and the Charlton Press. Lighthouse Canada is the leading supplier of high-quality numismatic supplies in Canada, and the Charlton Press is the leading publisher of coin and paper money catalogs and price guides for Canadian collectors. Go check out their online stores today and use the exclusive discount code CRH20 for 20% off all your purchases.